Good morning, good morning. I tried to make a video yesterday and I ran out of space, so sorry, no video yesterday. But for today, I've wrote down my notes so that I don't get lost and so that I get to all the various questions that I've been seeing floating around. Because I know that this process of detoxification, it brings up huge issues for people. Because the thing is, it really does revolutionize and tear down everything that we thought we knew, everything that is out there as far as information. You know, there are so many diets out there. But the thing is, this is not a diet, and there's so many detoxes out there. But this gets to the root of it all. You know, this is, I always say this is a little bit like summiting Mount Everest. And it really is. And the thing is, most people in the world are not ready to summit Mount Everest. And from those that attempt it, many fail. You know, many get there and many die along the way, many stop in the middle of the road or in the middle of the way of the process and go, I can't do this. And it's the same thing with this process. Because, and obviously those typically that do succeed, and there's enough of them, it's literally because they have come to a point where they've tried everything and this is the only thing that they haven't tried, you know. And so often when people come to me and they, yeah, often they'll try, and I always say there's no trying here. It's either you do or you don't. Because if you attempt to do this by trying, by saying, oh yeah, I'll give this a try, you're going to fail. You're going to fail simply because of the fears that come up, and because it's not a pretty process, because it's a process that is literally going to challenge everything that you thought you knew. In fact, I'd go as far as saying it challenges your view of reality, really. Like, let's face it, because when we realize that our body is infinitely capable of healing itself, and when we realize that there really is no such thing as disease, all these names that have been given to diseases, all these labels, you know, and I mean, I don't know how many there are, but there's hundreds, thousands actually, of conditions, diseases, and, you know, chronic, not chronic, and the various cancers and whatever. And most people are really attached to those labels also, what I've seen. You know, we love saying, I've got this, and my this and this condition, you know, or I've been diagnosed with so-and-so. Ah, what a relief. You know, at least now I know what I've got. And, you know, I hate to say it, but it's bullshit. There is only one disease, and that is toxicity. It's acidosis. It's excess mucus in the body, which, by the way, like so many things, it's the problem is not the mucus. The mucus is our friend, just like the parasites are our friend. The excess candida is our friend. You know, so to go and you know, wage war against cancer or war against candida or war against parasites, let's kill it. You can't kill cancer. You can't kill candida or parasites. It's all about changing your internal terrain to the point where cancer has no more reason to be, or parasites have no more reason to be, candida has no more reason to be. And that is such a radical shift. And I know that for many people, it's hard on so many levels, because all the questions come up, and then all of a sudden it really shakes the foundation of your reality. And I see that with most of my clients. And many can't handle it, And again, it's not a blame. I completely get it, Like, I don't think that I could have handled this whole process. And there were times also where I thought, oh my God, I think I'm going to die. Because it so fundamentally uproots everything. And that is the scariest shit to go through ever, You die inevitably to your old self, to your old beliefs, and you have to build a new reality. That is what we're doing. I don't want to get lost. So every now and again, I have to stop and kind of gather my thoughts, because I am so passionate about it, and I do want people to get it, because I think it's such, not I think, I know it's such a life-changing reality shift, to be completely in charge of your health forever. Because the reality is, when you get this, when you understand this process, you truly understand that there is no fear of disease ever again. It doesn't mean you're immune to any sorts of disease, like, yes, I might still get cancer, like if that's on my journey of evolution, or, anything else. But the point is that I no longer fear it, because I understand, okay, well then, it's probably because there's still something that I haven't resolved emotionally, physically, energetically. And it's not even about, there's no blame. So I'm not saying, oh, we cause, because there is that philosophy too, what have you done to cause the cancer? No. The point is, it's all part of our journey, and every dis-ease, every candida excess, every parasite is not to be killed. It's to be understood where it originates from, and it's to be understood that actually every dis-ease is always there to push us into a new evolutionary state, into a new, deeper understanding. And that to me is really key. So I really want to go into, all the fears that come up when we start detoxing. And one of the big ones is dehydration, especially with dry fasting, and that comes up a lot. And people go like, oh, but what about dehydration, because I feel thirsty, or because I feel, my throat gets really dry when I start dry fasting, or I get some heart palpitations, or I can feel some dizziness, depending on, again, your levels of toxicity and how long you take the dry fast, or down to my kidneys burn, or not burn, hurt, because it's more of a dull ache that can happen. And the kidneys are, in the lower back, sitting actually in the same area of the adrenals. So, but typically you will feel your kidneys sore at some point of your dry fasting journey. Some feel it immediately, 18 hours into or 16 hours into. And for others, like for me, I think I only started feeling sore kidneys probably after, I think after sort of maybe 30 hours, between 36 hours. And certainly when I went over, same thing for my husband. So most people do feel a dull pain in the kidney area at some point of their dry fasting journey. And then typically they freak out unless they know, what is going on. And so they freak out because they think that they're hurting themselves and that their body can't handle it. Meanwhile, what happens when the dull ache comes is the kidneys are actually working really hard to open up and to release the gunk. So the dry fasting, you need to understand, is an acidic experience. It pulls the acids from the body and it dumps them into, it goes into the lymphatic system, into the kidneys, obviously also colon, so it goes into all our detoxification pathways. But the main ones and sort of the easier ones where it comes out is the skin, because the skin is our biggest organ. And that's why oftentimes after a dry fast, we will experience, some pimples or a rash or itchiness or something on the skin, because it's pushing out toxins. Okay. So that's the skin. You can have really terrible bowel movements during your dry fasting or after, when you do an enema. A lot of mucus or foul smelling stuff down to parasites, ropeworms, etc. expelling. And that is because stuff is being pulled up and then it's being expelled, which that is exactly what you want. Same thing through the kidneys. The dry fasting forces the kidneys to open, and the release of lymphatic waste comes through the kidneys. And that's why when we collect our urine during dry fasting, we tend, if you collect it, try it, and you'll see, obviously each urination will be smaller, not always, but it tends to be, as we go into deeper dry fasting, you tend to have less urine. But when you do urinate, collect it, leave it there on the windowsill or somewhere for several hours for everything to settle, and often you'll see sediment. In fact, that is what you want to see. So initially you may not see it, and that's an indication that your kidneys are closed and they need to slowly open and heal so that you will have sediment release. And there will be some pain in that. It's not a sharp pain. It's more, women in labor that have gone through labor, they will know that kind of pain. It's sort of a dull ache. And that is where it will help, on one hand, to massage the kidneys. In the Master Fast system, we use a burnt wooden stick or wooden spoon. And there's a whole story behind the burnt, and you can go look it up on the Master Fast. It does really work. So we're using a non-burnt stick versus a burnt stick actually does make a big difference. So use a burnt stick, burn the end of a wooden spoon or stick, and almost sort of, find the pressure point, find the kidneys and gently massage it, put pressure on there, and that will give you relief. You can also just do some movements and some stretches, whatever works for you. Again, work with your body. So this whole process forces you to deeply connect with your body. And the thing is, it doesn't matter how long you've been into gymming and exercising. That doesn't mean that you're connected deeply to your body. So this process connects you, it forces you to deeply connect to your body in a way that most people never have, And again, that is also scary, because most people realize that they know nothing about their body. We tend to all be terrified about our bodies, that's why nobody wants to do enemas. The first thing when I mention enemas, you see people go like, oh, I can't do that. That's the one thing I will not do, or I can't do. And why? Why wouldn't you want to know the shit that we put into our body, what it looks like when it comes out? So we happily eat a whole bunch of crap because it's what everybody does, and some do it more than others, but we've all done it, and without thinking twice. But then we're not willing to look at what does it look like when it comes out, and we tend to sort of, like, our whole bowel movement poo stories, we don't talk about it, it's disgusting, and we don't really look at it. But that tells a whole bunch about your health. Your bowels tell everything about your health, in fact. And while we're talking bowels, I'm always surprised, and look, at the same time, I was there too, so I do have compassion. I do understand where people are coming from, but people think one bowel movement a day is good. And yes, sure, I've had clients go, oh yeah, no, I don't have bowel problems. I go, twice a week. It's like, whoa. A normal healthy specimen goes to actually 3 times a day. That is healthy. That is when your body is healing, your body is really healthy. And whereas when you go over, which happens to a lot of people when they start detoxing, they have excessive bowel movements and loose bowels, and that means a lot of acidity coming out of the body, and then you need to kind of balance a little bit with greens. But the same, it's just as bad. In fact, it's kind of worse when you have constipation. And many people that I see, they have had chronic constipation for years, sometimes 20, 30 years of chronic constipation, of constantly needing to take something, do something to get their bowels moving. And that is a sign, and then often they go, oh, but I don't really have any other health issues. I feel great. And it's like, you have no idea how good it is actually possible to feel in your body. And on the other hand, when you only go once every now and again, or if you constantly need help, you can be sure, there is no question about it, that you have other health issues, that there is inflammation in the body, that there is other disease building up in the body. It's just not otherwise possible. And just because you maybe made it until the age of even 70 with those kind of issues, because maybe in other ways you have looked after yourself, and remember, the body is incredibly resilient. And the proof of that, again, is when we see, people riddled with cancer and they still survive sometimes for 7-8 years. So there's so many factors. But my point is that just because you've maybe made it until 70 with these issues and you seem to be in good health, when we dig deeper, you're not in good health. You haven't lived a high quality of life, And I mean, it's terribly sad to see that. On the other hand, you can change it. And that is where also, when people then realize what is possible, 2 things can happen. Either they are overwhelmed with sort of this new information and they go like, okay, no, I can't handle the fact that maybe I have spent 20, 30 years, whatever it is, shut down in my body. Because if you have bowel issues, you are definitely blocked in your first, second chakra, And again, that may sound woo-woo, but it's not, because your first and second chakra has all to do with your security. You're feeling rooted in this world. You're feeling held truly by the force of the universe, and that you have a place, a deep place, and a deep right to be here. And I see so many times people, when they have issues in their bowels, and again, most of us are not integrated, and that is why we live in the chaos that we do live in, and that's why you see so many dysfunctional relationship, families, businesses, politics, as within, so without. There is no separation. And, and then some people go like, oh, well, you make it sound so dramatic. No, it's real. And, be here now, realize this is what's going on, and we can either compartmentalize it and decide not to look at it, or we scoop it up from the carpet and we go, okay, this is the truth. This is what's going on. And when I fully take in what is going on, then I can resolve it. Then I can take action to resolve it. And even though it may seem overwhelming in the first moment, because it seems like, oh my God, there's so much work to be done. I need to sort out my chakras. I need to sort out my bowels. I need to sort out my emotions and yes, but one thing at a time. And as they say in Kundalini Yoga, when the pressure is on, just take the first step. Start somewhere or you'll be nowhere. So instead of saying, this is too much, I can't deal, start doing something about it. And by doing something about it, you will slowly, over time, resolve your issue. And I do know, I'm just aware of the timer there, so I may have to cut this one and then kind of post and do something else. Anyway, I'm sorting it all out. So yeah, the point is you have to start somewhere. And I was also overwhelmed when I started, and it seemed like, oh my goodness, you know, I'll be 80 by the time that I have all my stuff sorted. And it's especially disheartening when you have already spent a lifetime or 20 years, like in my case, working on awakening, on self-realization, on self-improvement, and you think, oh, there's still so much work to be done. And eventually, you know, you just let go. You think, well, but that's what we're here for. Like, we're not here to just be unconscious beings at a party, you know. We are here to self-realize, and there is no end to it. There is no end to awakening, just as there is no end to enlightenment. There is more and more and more and more, and when you think you've arrived somewhere, there is more and more and more. And so when we let go of the idea that there is anywhere to get to, and we simply become present to the constant unraveling, it becomes easier and it becomes joyful, because the point is, with each step that we take, we do embody more self-love, more health. And so with each day, we simply spin forward and forward and forward. And eventually we get to a place where we're like, wow, we have created a beautiful life. We have created a beautiful body. We have created beautiful, radiant health. And that's, again, what the whole aim is. So I want to go back to the kidneys. So the kidneys, and because that's, you know, it's what comes up so often again and again. So this dull pain in the kidneys, it's not just physical, but then it's also energetic and emotional, because the kidneys hold fear. Just as the liver holds anger, the kidneys is where fear is stored. And so often when we get a fright, you can feel in our lower back, we will feel a contraction, or when we're anxious, you know, there's a certain contraction that happens in our lower back. There's a holding that happens, and that's the kidneys, which also tie in with the adrenal system, and that's why the two always go hand in hand. And like I said in the first video, all of our adrenals are basically fried, because we are all way overstimulated by so much. It's not just the drinking coffee, you know, it's the constant eating, the constant salt intake, the alcohol, the information, the shopping. Everything is a stimulation which constantly takes us out of our body. It's this, instead of sinking deeply into ourselves and into this knowing that we are enough, you know, in every single moment, I am enough. And so instead of always pushing forward and coming from this place of apologizing for our imperfection and this constant drive to need to self-improve, it's take a step back and remember that you are perfect just the way you are, when you rest in your perfection, because ultimately all that we are doing in the self-realization, self-improvement work, it's really just a remembering, returning to remember who we are by nature, you know? And then obviously people are like, but then why are we at this stage? Why has the world evolved to this point? Because without this polarity, we wouldn't be able to appreciate, come to an appreciation of our true nature, you know? So it's like, well, why do we have to fight? So that we can truly appreciate what it means to live in a relationship where we don't fight, you know, or where we fight fairly and consciously. But I wouldn't know about that had I not had the experience of some horrible relationships, right? And so we need polarities so that we can find the balance that we seek and that suits us. So to come back to the kidneys, the way to deal with what goes on in the kidneys is to, yes, do the dry fasting, yes, fruit fast, yes, take kidney tea if you can, but also massage the kidneys and even speak to them and say, thank you, kidneys, for holding all my fear, all my contractions. But I am ready to take that on, to take responsibility for it and to work through it. And so often when we dry fast and we fruit fast and we detox, we really hit upon deep existential fear. And that is where people go, this whole thing is way too much, you know, and most of my clients do get to that point, by the way, where they go like, okay, no, Alex, I've had it. It's way too much. All my foundations are being shaken up and I just can't, you know. And then they go like, I have to work. I have to deal with life. And it's like, well, it's your choice. You know, do you want to just be in the perpetual belief that you're doing your best or that you are working from, you know, your deepest truth? Or do you want to go and resolve your shit, resolve your coping mechanisms so that then you can be truly free and sovereign, you know? And ultimately, those people that stick with it, those people that go like, okay, I've had it, I am going to make this my breakthrough. I will use all of these tools on a daily basis. And yes, look, sometimes we take a break. Sometimes I also go, okay, for today, I don't want to know any of it. Today, I want to be an unconscious slob. And, you know, I mean, it doesn't happen so much anymore, but it used to. And I just want to have a break and I want to, I don't know, whatever it is, stay in bed and watch TV series or, you know, go shopping, whatever it is. And that's fine, but then be conscious that that's what you're doing and then come back, because ultimately there is only deep satisfaction, I think, for me in my experience, when we do self-realize. And so far, those people that have stuck it out, that have done the work, yes, they've gone through deep healing crises. Yes, they've gone through deep shakeups where everything seemed to collapse onto them. But ultimately, they all came out hugely empowered and really embodying their king or queen and knowing, I am the queen of my life. I am in charge fully. I create everything. And I create it not because I'm a bad person or because I'm stupid or because I'm, you know, self-inflicting bashing on myself, but I create it because so that I can learn. So when we take away the polarities, then all of a sudden there is just clarity, really. So speak to your kidneys. Take away the responsibility to carry your fear and start really looking at your fears. And so often, most of our fears are, they stem from childhood. They stem from, childhood or teenager years, where we didn't have a better coping mechanism. And so we took on the coping mechanism that best suited us at the time, whether that's an addiction or, a pattern of being, something that we embodied. And now is the time to let it go. And the only way to let it go is to work through it, is to inhale it, to look at it, to feel it all. And yes, it's hard. And in fact, the other day, because as much as we've done so much work, there's always more work to do. And so we are constantly looking at new modalities and really poking around within ourselves, my husband and I, in where is another pain spot, where is something unresolved. And I mean, it sounds crazy, but yes, that is our idea of fun nowadays, because we are just so fascinated with how much is possible and how much contraction we all carry within us. And at the same time, how much more amazing life becomes when we free ourselves from these contractions. So they're never pleasant in the moment. And so last Saturday, we did a new practice, which eventually we'll bring out into the public. And it's really, 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 really profound. And what came up for me it was in the moment hugely overwhelming, and I'm still kind of raw from it. And it's again the realization we store everything in our tissue. I don't know if you've heard of the expression, your issue is in your tissue. And I might have said it before, I don't know. But literally, we store our issue in fascia tissue, in our muscles, in our organs. And, many will say, and I've had people say to me, but why do I want to go dig in my pain body? I just want to live this life. I just want to enjoy this life. And yes, that is a very legitimate thing to say. And I do believe that some of us are here to live a life of R&R, as one of my teachers used to say, rest and relaxation, which essentially means a life of being unconscious. And it's not that being conscious or unconscious is better or worse, higher or lower, more evolved, less evolved, because I always say, what do we know? At the same time, we can only ever honor our truth. And so for me, my truth is, I am here in this lifetime to evolve and to feel into all the ways that we have stored pain and contraction, and to find out how can we release it, and what does that do? What does that open up as a possibility? And at the end of the day, I'm fully conscious that it's my choosing and it's my way of fun, And I love bringing out this information to those that are interested in it. But so in Saturday in that practice, it was like a new level that came undone. And where again, I saw, and I mean, it's an amazing, amazing practice. And it really goes right deep to the core of our issues. Not that fasting and dry fasting doesn't, but it's another level. And I will speak about it once we've completed our process. But my point is, I actually can't remember my point, but I think it was, that we store so much pain in our body, and memory, cellular memory. And, oh yes, that was my point. So when my husband was pressing on these certain points, initially I really struggled. I struggled to feel. There was sort of like a numbness and a disengagement from the feeling. It was almost like, no, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. And knowing what I know, instead of pushing it away, to go like, okay, let me just surrender to this experience and see what is there. And eventually I broke out in a cry. Like I probably hadn't cried like that in 10 years. It was just sobbing and snotting all over my husband's shoulder. And it felt so deeply liberating to let all of that go. And there, once again, I realized, like, whoa, we store so much that we are not aware of. And we can so easily block it out and live from that level of, I don't want to go and dig in my pain body. I just want to have fun. But the point is, whenever we uncover a new layer within ourselves, so much energy is freed up. And that is when I realized also, like, gee, no wonder I suffered from chronic fatigue for so many years and everything that came with it, because there was all this pent-up energy stored there, held. And if you think about it, it's like when you contract a muscle, if you hold your muscle really, really strong, I mean, you can do it, I can hold my bicep really strong for like, I don't know, a minute, 2 minutes, whatever, but it gets to the point where it's like, oh, wow, I'm so tired, I can't hold it. But now imagine a holding that basically stretches over 20 years. And we all have these holdings in our organs. The energy that sucks from us is literally, it sucks the life force out of it. And then obviously there's degrees, depending on what happened. But that is when for me it becomes so blatantly obvious, like, of course, this person is riddled with disease. Of course, this person is suffering from chronic fatigue. Of course, this person can't sleep. It's because there are all these issues festering in the body, unreleased. And so once I released what I released on Saturday, the last few days I've been incredibly tired. And then feeling like, oh, I haven't been feeling like this, in a long time. It's like, but yes, of course, I released this huge energy, and now the body is free, needs time to heal and to almost like reassess itself into a new matrix, into a new level of being, because it was such a huge shedding. So give yourself time when you heal, and whenever you go into fear, feel the fear, don't push it away. Know that the fear is something that you haven't been acknowledging. There is something there. Like, often the fear is not even about the very thing that you are fearful of. There's something deeper. And to allow yourself the courage to go there, to really feel it. And if you have questions, please post them. If you don't want to post things, under your name, then you can always private message me the question, and then I will post it as anonymous, because this is how we all learn. And I do fully realize that, this whole detoxification process, as all my clients say, it is so far deeper than the food we eat. It's really one of the deepest meditations that we can partake, because it forces us to be completely conscious of everything, literally 24/7. And that's hard, especially because most of us have been unconscious our whole life. And so yes, it will feel uncomfortable, it will feel painful, it will feel threatening, actually. In fact, just to share further, on Saturday evening when I was, releasing, there was a point where also I hit that spot, and I knew it was going to come, so I was prepared, but I hit that spot of thinking, no, I can't do this. Not in this lifetime. Like, this is way too big. I can't release or overcome or integrate this in this lifetime. This will kill me. And I remember having that similar feeling during my first master fast. Also, at some point, I thought, I am processing so much. My heart and soul is having such deep existential realizations that I don't think I will survive this in this lifetime. You know, I was sure that this would physically kill me, not immediately, but kind of over time, and it I would be obliterated. But that is the ego dying, you know, or it's your old self. It's not even the ego, because there again, you know, all these philosophies about killing the ego. No, we don't need to kill the ego. The ego, you need to have an ego worth having. And so it's not about killing the ego, but it's about realizing that your old self that is hooked into all these different structures out of security, and your old self doesn't want to die because those structures have served a purpose. So never feel bad about these old structures that you had to put in place and that they all had a purpose, even if they go as far as having been hectic addictions. They served a purpose, and the purpose was to protect you. So honor yourself for them, but also realize, well, now you have evolved, you are evolving, and you can see everything from a higher perspective, and you are ready to let it go. And you will not die, even though at the time it seems so real. And so I share my experience to tell you that in spite of all the work that I've done, in spite of me feeling incredibly integrated and, you know, really, I don't feel in the light of day, I don't feel like I have fear of anything any longer, not even death. But at the same time, in the moment when you are releasing the issue, you will inevitably go through the sensation of, or the surety of, this will kill me. And I stayed with that feeling for the whole of Saturday night. And then only in the light of day, it was like, okay, I can integrate this. This is just another step and another layer that's coming off, and I can do this. You know, and no matter how long it takes, I can do this. So let me just look at my piece of paper. Yeah, I think I'll stop here. You know, I'm sorry if these videos always, you know, like I always think, okay, I'm going to make a quick one. It never happens. But I'm going to get better at it, I hope. And I'll make other ones because, you know, there's a lot of questions arising, and I want to be able to answer all of them. So I'll stop here for now, and I'll go and make another one on, you know, why does it look like keto and paleo diets work so well? And also, what is the deal with vitamin B12? I mean, I did do a post, but I want to go deeper into that. You know, isolates and people with questions around, do I need to take vitamins? Do I need to take isolates? Does my body need something extra, or does it really only need fruit and in the Master Fast, the grape juice? And so I'll go ahead and answer those in another video. I hope this has served you, and yeah, I invite you to post questions and feedback, because ultimately I am doing this to serve you. And how can I serve you better? That's always my question. So if you help me serve you better, I can help you better. So all my love on this journey, and I think you're all doing great, you know, because even just being here and exposing yourself to this information is brave, because I know how deeply it can rattle your reality. So well done, and I'll talk to you soon.